In the heart of a sprawling, chaotic city where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and honking cars filled the streets with noise, there lived a young man named Amir. Life had not been kind to him. Born into a family burdened by poverty, he grew up in a small, crumbling apartment on the outskirts of town. His father had passed away when he was just a child, leaving his mother, the sole breadwinner, to raise him and his two younger siblings. But even her meager earnings as a seamstress weren't enough to keep them afloat. When Amir turned 14, he dropped out of school to take up odd jobs, determined to help his family survive. Every morning, Amir would wake up before sunrise, his body still sore from the previous day's work. He'd gulp down a cup of weak tea, grab a stale piece of bread if they had any, and head out into the noisy streets. His most reliable job was working as a courier for a local delivery service. Armed with nothing but a worn-out bicycle, a backpack stuffed with packages, and a map of the city etched in his memory, Amir pedaled tirelessly through traffic jams, narrow alleys, and crowded marketplaces. The pay was barely enough to cover their rent and food, but it kept them going, one day at a time. Despite the hardships, Amir carried himself with quiet dignity. He never complained about his circumstances or envied those who seemed to have more. Instead, he found joy in small things: the laughter of his little sister as she played with a handmade doll, the smell of freshly baked roti wafting through the air during festivals, or the rare moments when he could sit under a tree and watch the sunset after finishing his deliveries. People often mistook his silence for shyness, but those who knew him well understood that beneath his calm exterior lay a fiercely protective and compassionate soul. One particular trait set Amir apart: he always went out of his way to help others, no matter how busy or tired he was. Once, while delivering groceries to an elderly woman living alone, he noticed her struggling to carry heavy bags upstairs. Without hesitation, he offered to assist her, spending nearly an hour organizing her pantry and ensuring she had everything she needed. Another time, he spotted a lost child crying near a busy intersection. Ignoring the risk of being late for his next delivery, Amir stayed with the boy until he could reunite him with his frantic parents. These acts of kindness might have gone unnoticed by many, but they were the threads that wove together the fabric of Amir's character. As the days turned into months, Amir began to dream of something better, not just for himself, but for his family too. Late at night, when everyone else was asleep, he would lie awake imagining a future where his siblings could attend good schools, his mother wouldn't have to sew late into the night, and he could finally afford proper meals every day. Yet these dreams felt distant, almost unreachable, given the weight of his current reality. Little did he know, fate had other plans, a twist so unexpected that it would change the course of his life forever. For now, though, Amir continued pedaling through the city, one delivery at a time, unaware of the extraordinary adventure waiting just around the corner. The months that followed were a whirlwind of challenges and triumphs for Amir and Evelyn. Their professional partnership had grown into something far deeper, though they both tried to keep their feelings in check, mindful of the scrutiny they faced. But as time went on, it became harder to deny the bond that tied them together. A connection forged through shared struggles, mutual respect, and countless late nights spent working side by side. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at the office, Evelyn invited Amir to join her for dinner at a quiet cafe near the city park. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers, and the soft glow of streetlights created an intimate atmosphere. As they sat across from each other, Evelyn hesitated before finally breaking the silence. "Amir," she began, her voice tinged with vulnerability, "I need to be honest with you. Working with you these past months has been life-changing. You've become more than just my assistant. You're my closest confidant, my partner in every sense." Amir's heart raced as he met her gaze. He wanted to say something, anything, but words failed him. Instead, he simply nodded, encouraging her to continue. Evelyn took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly around her coffee mug. "But I know what people think about us. They see our differences, your background, my status, and assume we don't belong together. And maybe they're right. Maybe this is too complicated. Her words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Amir reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. "Evelyn," he said softly, "I won't pretend I haven't thought about it too. But none of those things matter to me. What matters is how much you've changed my life. For the better. If you're willing to face the world with me, then I'm ready to do the same." Tears welled up in Evelyn's eyes as she smiled, her fears melting away under the warmth of his sincerity. For the first time, they allowed themselves to acknowledge the truth. They were falling in love. However, their decision to pursue a relationship wasn't without consequences. News of their closeness spread quickly, sparking outrage among Evelyn's elite social circle. Friends and acquaintances questioned her judgment, warning her that associating with someone like Amir would tarnish her reputation. Even members of her own family voiced their disapproval, urging her to end the relationship before it caused irreparable damage. Faced with mounting pressure, Evelyn stood firm. At a lavish charity gala attended by the city's most influential figures, she addressed the whispers head-on. Standing beside Amir, who looked visibly uncomfortable in his rented suit, she raised her glass and spoke with quiet conviction. "I want to thank everyone here tonight for your support over the years," she began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "But there's one person I owe the greatest debt of gratitude to, someone who saved my life, believed in me when others doubted me, and showed me that true worth isn't measured by wealth or status. This man is not just my assistant. He's my equal, my partner, and the love of my life." A hush fell over the crowd as Evelyn turned to Amir, taking his hand in hers. "If loving him means losing some of you as friends, so be it, because I've never been happier or more certain of anything in my life." The room erupted into murmurs, but Evelyn didn't care. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that love, when genuine, was worth fighting for. As they walked out of the gala together, hand in hand, Amir felt a surge of hope. Together, they vowed to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their bond was stronger than any obstacle the world could throw at them. Years passed, and Amir's life transformed in ways he could never have imagined. The boy who once pedaled through rain-soaked streets with a battered bicycle had grown into a man of purpose and influence. With Evelyn by his side, he embraced his new role not just as her husband, but also as a leader dedicated to creating positive change. Together, they expanded their philanthropic efforts, turning their initiatives into a foundation that touched countless lives. From building schools in underserved neighborhoods to funding scholarships for talented students, Amir worked tirelessly to ensure others wouldn't face the same struggles he once did. At work, Amir's journey inspired those around him. What started as skepticism from colleagues evolved into admiration as they witnessed his dedication and growth. He became a mentor to young employees, sharing his story to remind them that success wasn't defined by where you came from, but by how hard you were willing to fight for your dreams. Even Ravi, who had once been one of his harshest critics, eventually approached him with an apology. "You proved me wrong," Ravi admitted gruffly, "and I respect that." Evelyn, too, found renewed inspiration through their partnership. Her business thrived under their combined leadership, earning accolades for its innovative approach to social responsibility. But more than professional achievements, it was their shared vision of a better world that truly set them apart. They became symbols of hope, a reminder that love and determination could bridge even the widest divides. Their wedding, held in a modest yet heartfelt ceremony, brought together two worlds. Amir's family sat alongside Evelyn's elite circle, united by the couple's unwavering commitment to each other. There were no grand gestures or extravagant displays. Instead, the day was filled with laughter, tears, and music that reflected both their backgrounds. As they exchanged vows beneath a canopy of flowers, Amir promised to honor Evelyn's trust and support her dreams, while she vowed to stand by his side through every challenge. It was a moment neither of them would ever forget. In the years that followed, Their bond only deepened. They welcomed a child, a daughter named Aisha, who inherited her father's kindness and her mother's curiosity. Watching Amir play with their little girl, Evelyn often marveled at how far he'd come. "Do you remember when we first met?" she teased one evening as they watched Aisha chase fireflies in the garden. "I don't think either of us imagined this back then." Amir smiled, pulling her close. "No, but I'm glad fate brought us together. You changed my life, Evelyn." "And you saved mine," she replied softly, resting her head on his shoulder. Their story spread beyond their community, inspiring many who heard it. People began to see Amir and Evelyn not just as individuals, but as proof that courage, integrity, and love could overcome even the toughest odds. Their journey reminded everyone that true success wasn't measured by wealth or status, but by the impact you had on others and the lives you touched along the way. As they stood together one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and pink, Amir turned to Evelyn with a smile. "We've come so far," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "But I know there's still more we can do." Evelyn nodded, her hand finding his. "Together, we'll keep going. That's what makes life beautiful, the chance to grow, give back, and build something lasting." And so, hand in hand, they stepped forward into the future, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Their love had already rewritten their destinies, proving that sometimes all it takes is one brave act of kindness to change everything, for yourself, for someone else, and for the world. The backlash from Evelyn's public declaration was swift and unrelenting. Social media buzzed with gossip, tabloids splashed their pictures across headlines, and invitations to events that Evelyn had once attended regularly began to dry up. Her decision to stand by Amir became a topic of heated debate in their social circles, with some applauding her courage while others condemned what they saw as reckless behavior. For Amir, the scrutiny was overwhelming. He hadn't anticipated becoming the center of such intense attention, and the weight of judgment pressed heavily on him. Despite the criticism, Evelyn remained steadfast. She shielded Amir from the worst of it, using her influence to counteract false narratives spread about him. When anonymous accounts online accused Amir of manipulating her for money or status, Evelyn took to social media herself, posting heartfelt messages defending their relationship. "Amir is not just a man of integrity, but also someone who inspires me daily," she wrote in one post. "Love isn't about where you come from, it's about who you are." Still, the pressure mounted. One afternoon, as they sat together in Evelyn's apartment, Amir voiced his fears. "Evelyn, maybe they're right," he said quietly, staring at his hands. "Maybe this isn't fair to you. Your family, your career, everything you've worked so hard for, it could all fall apart because of me." Evelyn placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her eyes filled with determination. "Don't ever think like that," she replied firmly. "You didn't choose this life. I did, and I'd rather lose everything than live without you. We'll face this together, no matter what." Their resolve only grew stronger with time. To prove wrong those who doubted them, they focused on building something meaningful beyond their personal lives. Evelyn introduced Amir to philanthropy, encouraging him to use his unique perspective to help uplift communities like the one he came from. Together, they launched initiatives aimed at providing education and job opportunities to underprivileged youth. These efforts not only strengthened their bond, but also earned them respect from unexpected quarters. People who initially criticized them now praised their commitment to making a difference. As months passed, their love continued to flourish despite the challenges. Late-night conversations turned into shared dreams of a future together, a home filled with laughter, a family rooted in mutual support, and a partnership built on equality. They learned to navigate the complexities of their worlds colliding, finding beauty in their differences rather than letting them divide them. One evening, during a quiet dinner at home, Evelyn surprised Amir with an envelope. Inside was a plane ticket to Paris. "We deserve this," she said with a smile. "Let's take a break from everything and celebrate us." The trip was transformative. Away from prying eyes and harsh judgments, they'd rediscovered the joy of simply being together, walking along the Seine, exploring art galleries, and sharing meals at cozy cafes reminded them why they had fallen in love in the first place. On their final night in Paris, Evelyn led Amir to the top of the Eiffel Tower, where the city sparkled beneath them like a sea of stars. "I have something to ask you," Evelyn said, turning to face him. Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes shone with certainty. "Amir, will you marry me?" For a moment, Amir was speechless, his heart pounding in his chest. Then, tears welled up in his eyes as he nodded. "Yes," he whispered, pulling her into a tight embrace. 1,000 times yes. In that moment, surrounded by the magic of Paris, they sealed their promise to each other, a testament to the power of love to transcend boundaries and rewrite destinies. Though the journey ahead would still have its hurdles, they faced it with unwavering faith in each other and the life they were determined to build together. As Amir settled into his role as Evelyn's assistant, he began to notice subtle shifts in their dynamic. What had started as a professional relationship built on gratitude and mentorship gradually evolved into something deeper and more meaningful. They spent long hours together, navigating the complexities of running a successful business, and in those moments, Amir realized how much they complemented each other. Evelyn admired his integrity and fresh perspective, while Amir looked up to her wisdom and resilience. Their conversations often stretched beyond work, delving into personal dreams, fears, and aspirations. But not everyone was pleased with their growing closeness. Rumors began circulating among the staff about the poor courier turned assistant, spending too much time with the boss. Some whispered that Amir's rise wasn't due to merit but favoritism, while others speculated about the nature of their relationship. The tension reached its peak when Ravi, still bitter about Amir's success, confronted Evelyn during a team meeting. "Are we sure this arrangement is appropriate?" Ravi asked pointedly, glancing between Evelyn and Amir. "It might create complications." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Evelyn. She didn't flinch, her expression calm yet firm. "Amir earned his place here through hard work and dedication," she said evenly, her voice carrying authority. "If anyone has an issue with that, they're welcome to discuss it with me privately." Ravi flushed red but said nothing further, retreating under her steely gaze. Though the confrontation ended there, it left a lingering unease in the office, an unspoken reminder of the societal barriers standing between them. Despite these challenges, Amir continued to excel, earning respect from those who mattered most: clients, partners, and Evelyn herself. One particular project tested his loyalty and commitment like never before. A rival company launched a smear campaign against Evelyn's firm, spreading false allegations that threatened to tarnish their reputation. Amid the chaos, one of Amir's former coworkers, a man named Samir, whom he'd once considered a friend, approached him with a tempting offer. "I know you're struggling to fit in here," Samir said casually over coffee one afternoon. "Why not make things easier for yourself? Hand over some confidential documents, and I'll ensure you're taken care of financially." Amir stared at him, disbelief washing over him. "You want me to betray Evelyn?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Samir shrugged, attempting to downplay the gravity of his request. "It's just business, Amir. No one will blame you for looking out for yourself." For a moment, doubt crept in. The weight of his responsibilities pressed heavily on him. The need to support his family, the fear of failure. But betrayal was never an option. Summoning every ounce of courage, Amir stood up and fixed Samir with a cold glare. "I owe Evelyn everything. If you think I'd risk her trust for money, you don't know me at all." He reported the incident to Evelyn immediately, providing her with enough information to expose the rival company's scheme. Thanks to Amir's quick thinking, the crisis was averted, and Evelyn's company emerged stronger than ever. Grateful for his unwavering loyalty, Evelyn confided in him afterward. "Not many people would have made the choice you did, Amir. You've proven yourself not just as my assistant, but as someone I can truly rely on. Their bond deepened further after that incident, though both remained cautious about crossing professional boundaries. Yet late nights spent working side by side, sharing laughter over shared victories, and finding solace in each other's company made it increasingly difficult to ignore the growing connection between them. For now, they focused on their work, determined to navigate the challenges ahead together. But beneath the surface, emotions simmered, waiting for the right moment to come to light. Amir's first day at Evelyn's company felt like stepping into another universe. The sleek glass building stood tall amidst the city skyline, its polished floors reflecting the sunlight streaming through massive windows. Employees dressed in sharp suits bustled about, clutching tablets and exchanging brisk greetings. Amir, wearing his best pair of trousers and a borrowed blazer that was slightly too big for him, couldn't help but feel out of place. His hands trembled as he clutched the notebook Evelyn had given him, filled with instructions and notes to guide him through his new role. Evelyn greeted him warmly at the entrance, her presence instantly calming his nerves. "Welcome to your new world, Amir," she said with an encouraging smile. She introduced him to the team, explaining that he would be assisting her directly. While some employees nodded politely, others eyed him with thinly veiled skepticism. Whispers followed him down the hall. A Courier, as her assistant. But Amir chose to ignore them, focusing instead on proving himself worthy of Evelyn's trust. The learning curve was steep. Tasks that seemed simple to others, like organizing meetings or drafting emails, were entirely foreign to Amir. At first, he made mistakes. A misplaced document here, a forgotten appointment there. But Evelyn never lost patience. Instead, she guided him step by step, teaching him not just the technical skills, but also the nuances of professionalism. "You're doing great," she assured him one evening after a particularly grueling day. Nobody expects perfection overnight. Despite her encouragement, Amir faced challenges beyond the office walls. Some colleagues resented his rapid rise, whispering behind his back and questioning how someone with no formal education could hold such a prestigious position. One coworker, a middle-aged man named Ravi who had worked at the company for years, went out of his way to make Amir's life difficult. He criticized Amir's work openly during meetings and assigned him menial tasks meant to humiliate him. One afternoon, Ravi handed Amir a stack of files and sneered, "Here, file these. It's probably all you're good for." The comment stung, but Amir refused to let it show. With quiet determination, he completed the task meticulously, earning praise from Evelyn when she reviewed his work. Over time, his diligence began to win over even the skeptics. Slowly but surely, the whispers faded, replaced by reluctant respect. What truly transformed Amir's experience, however, was Evelyn's unwavering support. Beyond being his mentor, she became a friend, inviting him to lunch and sharing stories about her own struggles growing up. She revealed that she hadn't always been the confident leader everyone admired. She too had faced doubt and rejection early in her career. Her vulnerability inspired Amir to keep pushing forward, even when the odds felt stacked against him. As weeks turned into months, Amir grew more comfortable in his role. He learned to anticipate Evelyn's needs, managing her schedule with precision, and handling complex assignments with ease. More importantly, he discovered strengths within himself he never knew existed. His natural empathy allowed him to connect with clients and colleagues alike, while his problem-solving skills earned him recognition during critical projects. One evening, after a successful presentation where Amir played a key role in securing a major deal for the company, Evelyn pulled him aside. "You've come so far, Amir," she said, her eyes shining with pride. "I knew you had potential, but you've exceeded every expectation." Amir smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment wash over him. For the first time in his life, he felt valued, not because of where he came from or what he lacked, but because of who he was. Yet, amid this newfound confidence, he remained grounded, remembering the kindness Evelyn had shown him. Little did he know, Their bond was deepening into something neither of them had anticipated, setting the stage for even greater changes ahead. It was one of those evenings when the sky seemed to mirror Amir's mood, dark, heavy, and restless. Rain had begun to pour in sheets, turning the streets into slippery rivers and making his deliveries even more challenging. Drenched from head to toe, Amir pedaled furiously, determined to finish his last package of the day before the storm worsened. The wind howled around him, and lightning lit up the horizon, but he pressed on, knowing that every minute counted. As he turned onto a narrow street lined with dimly lit shops and shadowy alleys, something unusual caught his attention, a faint cry for help. At first, he thought it might be his imagination playing tricks on him, but then he heard it again, louder this time. It sounded desperate, almost pleading. Curiosity got the better of him, and despite being behind schedule, Amir slowed down and followed the sound toward a secluded alleyway. What he saw there made his heart stop. A woman dressed in an elegant white dress stood cornered against the wall, her face pale with terror. Two men loomed over her, their intentions unmistakably sinister. One of them held a small bag, likely snatched from the woman, while the other blocked her escape route. Her wide eyes darted back and forth, searching for a way out, but there was none. The rain continued to fall, mixing with her tears as she tried to plead with them to leave her alone. Amir froze for a moment, unsure of what to do. He was just a poor courier, not some hero from the movies. What chance did he have against two menacing strangers? But then he remembered the countless times he'd helped people in need, the elderly woman with her groceries, the lost child at the intersection, and realized he couldn't simply stand by and watch. Summoning every ounce of courage he possessed, Amir grabbed a metal rod lying nearby, left behind by construction workers earlier that day. Clutching it tightly, he stepped into the alley. "Leave her alone," Amir shouted, his voice trembling but firm. The sudden intrusion startled the attackers, who turned to face him with looks of surprise and anger. For a moment, no one moved. The tension in the air was palpable. Then one of the men lunged toward Amir, attempting to intimidate him into backing off. But Amir didn't flinch. With surprising agility, he swung the rod, forcing the man to retreat. The other attacker hesitated, clearly unprepared for such resistance. Sensing an opportunity, the woman quickly slipped past them and ran toward Amir, clutching his arm for safety. Seeing their victim escape enraged the men further, but Amir's unexpected bravery had thrown them off balance. They exchanged nervous glances, realizing they were now outnumbered and exposed. Without another word, they muttered curses under their breath and flowed into the shadows, disappearing into the rainy night. Breathing heavily, Amir turned to the woman, who was still shaking from fear. She looked at him with gratitude shining in her tear-filled eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. Up close, Amir noticed how strikingly beautiful she was, her fair skin glowing softly even in the dim light. Yet there was something else about her, an aura of elegance and poise that suggested she came from a world far removed from his own. "I'm fine," Amir replied awkwardly, unsure of what else to say. He handed her the bag the attackers had dropped, which contained a phone and a wallet. "Are you hurt?" he asked, genuinely concerned. She shook her head, though her hands were still trembling. "No, I'm okay because of you." After a pause, she added, "My name is Evelyn. Can I know yours?" "Amir," he said simply, feeling oddly self-conscious under her gaze. Evelyn smiled weakly, her gratitude evident. "Amir, I can't thank you enough for what you've done tonight. Please, let me repay you somehow." Amir hesitated, scratching the back of his neck. "It's all right, ma'am. I only did what anyone should have." Despite his modesty, Evelyn insisted on staying in touch, slipping him a business card before hurrying away into the rain-soaked night. As Amir watched her disappear into the distance, he couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was unlike anything he'd ever experienced, and that it might lead to something extraordinary. The days that followed the rainy night in the alley felt surreal to Amir. He couldn't stop thinking about Evelyn, the mysterious woman in white who had seemed so out of place in his gritty, chaotic world. Her elegance and gratitude lingered in his mind, but what struck him most was the sincerity in her voice when she said she wanted to repay him. Amir dismissed it as a polite gesture. People like her didn't usually follow through on promises made to strangers like him. Or so he thought. 3 days later, while Amir was delivering a package to a high-rise building downtown, his phone buzzed with an unknown number flashing on the screen. Hesitant but curious, he answered. "Hello," he said, balancing the phone between his ear and shoulder as he adjusted the strap of his backpack. "Amir, this is Evelyn," came the warm, confident voice on the other end. For a moment, Amir was too stunned to respond. She hadn't forgotten about him after all. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," Evelyn continued, sensing his silence. "I just wanted to thank you again for what you did. You saved me that night, and I'll never forget it." Amir stumbled over his words, flustered. No, it's okay. I mean, I'm glad I could help. Are you all right now?" "Yes, thanks to you," Evelyn replied. There was a brief pause before she added, "Listen, I'd really like to meet you in person to express my gratitude properly. Do you think we could arrange that?" Amir hesitated. Meeting someone like Evelyn, a woman who clearly belonged to a different social class, felt intimidating. What would they even talk about? But something about her tone put him at ease. She sounded genuine, not like someone trying to make small talk out of obligation. Reluctantly, he agreed, giving her a time and place where they could meet after his work hours. The next evening, Amir arrived at a quiet cafe near the city park, feeling unusually nervous. He wore his cleanest shirt, though it was faded from countless washes, and combed his hair neatly. As he waited, he noticed Evelyn walking toward him, dressed impeccably in a pastel blouse and tailored pants. She looked every bit as poised as she had that rainy night, yet there was a warmth in her smile that made her seem approachable. "Amir, thank you for coming," she said, extending her hand. He shook it awkwardly, unsure how to act around someone so refined. They sat down, and Evelyn immediately took charge of the conversation, asking about his life, his family, and his work. Amir found himself opening up more than he expected, sharing stories about his struggles and dreams without realizing how much he needed to unload his burdens onto someone willing to listen. Evelyn listened intently, nodding and occasionally offering words of encouragement. When he finished, she leaned forward slightly, her expression thoughtful. "You're an extraordinary person, Amir. Not many people would have stepped into that alley to help a stranger. Most would have walked away." Amir shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "I just did what anyone should have done." "That's exactly why it matters," Evelyn countered gently. "Not everyone has your courage or kindness." She paused, then added, "Which brings me to why I wanted to see you. I want to offer you a job at my company." Amir blinked, certain he'd misheard her. "A job? At your company?" "Yes," Evelyn said firmly. "As my personal assistant. You'll be helping me manage schedules, handle correspondence, and assist with various tasks. It's a step up from courier work, and I believe you're more than capable of handling it." "But I don't have any qualifications," Amir stammered, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. "I barely finished middle school." Evelyn smiled reassuringly. "Qualifications can be learned, Amir. Integrity, humility, and determination are harder to find. And you already possess those qualities in abundance. If you're willing to learn, I'll teach you everything you need to know." For the first time in years, Amir allowed himself to imagine a future beyond the narrow confines of his current life. The idea of working alongside someone like Evelyn, in a world he'd only ever glimpsed from afar, was both thrilling and terrifying. Yet deep down, he knew this was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. Taking a deep breath, he nodded. "All right, I'll do it." Evelyn's smile widened, lighting up her face. "You won't regret this," Amir. Together, we'll achieve great things. Little did either of them know, this decision would mark the beginning of a journey neither could have anticipated, one that would change their lives forever.